Anniversary weekend for America's Festival of Peace, Love, and Music. America's pastime reflects only conflict and disharmony. The picture just as muddy as ever. Searching for purity in the sweet science, there was only confusion and controversy last night. In foreign affairs, America's basket bullies keep conquering countries with a dominance that's left them almost speechless.
Blah, 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 what?
And Uncle Sam is calling to arms any golfer who can repel the foreign invaders' sweep. Now nicked up, Michael's shoulder. Marshall's back, and Buddy's pride. The Bills' pride is intact, they say. We'll call on their camp and swim with the shark as we all just try to get along for an hour of Sports Weekly.
Sports Weekly is presented by Delta Airlines.
Good morning and welcome to ESPN's Sunday Sports Day, August 14th, 1994. 2.5 hours of everything you need to know about in the world of sports and the business of sports, too. I'm Frank DeFord, sitting in for Dick Schaap, who isn't picketing, he's just vacationing. And if this is August, why, it must be basketball. Dream Team 2 goes for the gold this afternoon in Canada, but in Tulsa, it looks as if maybe it'll be a gold medal sweep for foreigners in the Grand Slam. And the NFL has its big preseason Texas showdown tomorrow night, Cowboys against the Oilers, but it's south of the border in Mexico City. The only thing missing from this picture, of course, is baseball. Chris Fowler is here to guide us through our opening hour, Sports Weekly. And Chris, are you in mourning from the loss of the national pastime?
Well, I prefer they not be on strike, Frank, but I'm hardly in mourning. I'm not one of those people that talks about the fabric of American society being shredded by a baseball strike. It is a strike. They happen, but it's not like when the air traffic controllers went on strike and you had overworked, inexperienced people controlling the skies over the airports. It's just a baseball strike. It is too bad for the vendors and a lot of the innocent economic victims, but I think, Frank, as soon as it's done, the fans will be back, contrary to a lot of the pundits, just as enthusiastic as ever.
Well, there's no question the fans always come back, Chris. It's just that this time when they come back, assuming that the strike goes any longer, it's going to run dead into football, into the O.J. Simpson trial, and to a lot of other entertainments that come in the fall. Baseball's taking a big chance this time.
We will talk more about the strike, and as you said, there's a lot of other stuff going on. The World Championships, the PGA will have reports from all of this stuff, as well as Charlie Steiner reporting live from the Woodstock Mosh Pit. If you're already sick of the strike circus and you're looking for some pure, simple sports entertainment, you didn't find it in the squared circle last night at Atlantic City. There was more controversy as Riddick Bowe finally fought for the first time since surrendering his belt to Evander Holyfield last November against undefeated but undistinguished Buster Mathis Jr., a guy who was undefeated but had only 3 knockouts. Round 4, here's the controversy.
Fairly solid punches.
Buster Mathis staggering down on one knee.
He was down at least 2 or 3
He was
seconds,
down clearly for a couple of seconds before Bowe delivered the punch, and you can't do that. Arthur Mercanti gets there a little bit too late to break things up before the punch. New Jersey State Athletic Control Board Commissioner Larry Hazard discusses it. Bowe committed the foul because Mathis was down. Officially is an intentional foul, and the fight is therefore ruled no contest. It never happened. It never existed. Stopped at 2:11 of the 4th round. Mercanti also the referee for a fight between Mathis's father and Joe Frazier. Afterwards, Bowe said he thought Mathis was just crouching, not kneeling when he punched him.
I thought he was in a crouch position. I looked at him for a minute. I really couldn't see his body. I didn't know what he was doing. And so I seen an opening, and I took it. You know, when a fighter gets hit after the bell, or when a fighter gets hit a low blow or something of that nature, it never really leaves a fighter. You know, that you can't excuse the effect of a punch sometimes. And in a situation like this, we felt that the fair thing here would be to, you know, not force the fighter to try to fight, just rule it a no contest.
Now, what does the controversy do for Bowe's planned but still unsanctioned title bout with Lennox Lewis? His manager, Rock Newman, just laughed and said it makes it better. Later, boxing analysts Al Bernstein and Larry Merchant will check in with their thoughts. Well, forgive Dream Team 2 if they're getting a little bored by the routine pummelings of the World Championships. It was reflected in Team USA's worst offensive game against a Greek crew that was more interested in just keeping the score down than trying to fight into the gold medal game. The weird strategy actually succeeded for a half, but it really spoiled much of the entertainment value of this semifinal. Once again, Shaq in the spotlight. Dominique misses. Shaq cleans things up. Shaq also passing the dish to Reggie Miller, the easy two. Dreamers led by 11 points, 28-17. Speaking for Reggie, he would get open. 3, 3, one more 3. We're showing you a lot of the pretty shots. There were a lot of ugly shots, too. This was not a very good offensive performance for the Dream Team, but at the end of the half, Sean Kemp with the dunk. Second half action, Mark Price finds Derek Coleman. He's played well the last couple of games. DC throws it down. And again, the perimeter game. We edit out the misses. We show only the nice shots. Joe Dumars, 1, 2, 3. And with time running down, the double clutch from Alonzo. And the bank. Morning a nice game. He had a dozen. Final shot of the game, Steve Smith, who's just trying to get whatever PT he can. He hits the shot. Again, it wasn't pretty. First time in 7 games the Dreamers held under 100 points. Some of the shooting, Marley 2 for 10, LJ 2 for 8, KJ 0 for 4, Price 4 for 13. Greece, though, held a 32% shooting and just 2 offensive rebounds. The U.S. had 25 of them. Dream Team 1 step away from their goal.
I'm ready to wear my gold medal on the plane on the way home.
I received 1 gold medal in the University World Games when I was at UNLV, and you know, it was just that feeling of going over. We playing in Germany, and just that feeling of getting a gold medal put on your neck when you're playing in an international competition. You know, that's a feeling that, you know, I hadn't ever received.
Nick, what will a gold medal mean to you at this point?
It means everything.
Well, the gold medal matchup everyone wanted to see spoiled because Russia defeated previously unbeaten Croatia 66-64 in the other semifinal team. Tony Kukoc held it as 5 points. So the championship game, a rematch of Dream Team's 17-point win Friday night. Croatia battles Greece in the bronze medal game. Oh, those little yellow hankies will get you every time. Buddy Ryan wants the league's most aggressive defense. He doesn't want the most penalized unit. 13 flags undid the Cardinals' bid for a second straight preseason win and kind of tempered the euphoria down in Phoenix a little bit. The Bears were in town, and Eric Kramer, the new quarterback, got the start and really struggled. First quarter scoreless game. Kramer, taste of buddy ball as Eric Swan, the brilliant tackle, bats it down. Second quarter, 6-zip Bears, Cards threatening. Chris Schwartz, the backup, picked off by Donnell Wolford, the second of 2 first-half picks for the Bears. Then Steve Walsh trying to lead the Bears to pay dirt. Second and goal, hands off to Robert Green. Seth Joyner, one of the buddy guys, stuffs him. Another look. I wonder if Seth likes it in Phoenix. Green, the backup to Lewis Tillman. Energized by the hit, perhaps. Look at the stutter step, the moves. 34 yards for the touchdown. Only touchdown of the game. 3 Butler field goals, 32, 44, and 22 yards. McMahon, you know, barely ineffective against his former team, but Eric Kramer just 1 of 7 in 2 series. 2 more teams with new quarterbacks, the Saints and the Vikes. In the Metrodome, Warren Moon, a sluggish start. The dying quail almost picked off by Brett Maxey. Then the incompletion to Cooper, and Maxey, another chance at an interception, dropped. The Vikings still fumbling and bumbling. David Palmer can't catch the punt. That would set up this TD strike. Jim Everett to Michael Haynes. Everett firing again. Take notice, Rams fans and talk show hosts. The Saints, tough early, but Moon and the Vikes would rally. Less than 30 seconds of the first half. Moon to Jake Reed for the big gainer. And in the final seconds, Moon to Chris Carter for the touchdown. Vikings on the board. Moon 9 of 20. Vikes D would step it up. Wade Wilson sacked. Andre Ware comes in, connects with Andrew Jordan for 6 more points. And the Vikings pull it out 21-17. They're tough in the preseason under Dennis Green, a record of 10-2. Everett 14 of 22, 182 yards and a pair of scores. The Saints are 0-2 in the preseason. The Finns and the Pack in Milwaukee. Dan Marino, his one and only drive of the game. He finds Mark Ingram for the touchdown. 6 for 7, 60 yards. The Cheeseheads insane in the membrane in this preseason game. Marino to Mark Ingram again. 8-zip. That was a 2-point conversion. Third quarter, Bernie Kosar at the helm. Hands off to Bernie Parmalee. 3-yard touchdown run. Later in the third quarter, once again, Miami knocking. Once again, Bernie handing to Parmalee. 13 points in the third quarter for the Dolphins. Holmgren's team goes down for the score of 31-24. Jeff Thomason fumbled at the Miami 25 to kill Green Bay's chances at a game-winning drive in the final couple of minutes, and the Dolphins are 3-0 in the preseason. Marino, just that one series, Shula using him very cautiously since that Achilles surgery, but he's been sharp. 9 of 12, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns in 2 games. Figures to play more next week. Jets and Eagles, 34-24. Boomer, 7 of 13, 128 yards and a couple of touchdowns. He said, quote, take the preseason for what it's worth, and it's not worth a lot. Rich Kotite sounded very concerned about his team's lapses in the secondary. Bill Parcells, he was very unsatisfied with his team's effort against the Rams. Jerome Bettis with the catch and the run for 14 yards. Bettis, 11 carries, 30 yards, and a touch. It was 7-0 Rams in the second quarter. And Kevin Lee, the draft choice out of Alabama, nailed by Toby Wright on the kickoff. Lee would leave the game X-ray, showing a broken jaw. Patriots Bledsoe, 3 of 8, 19 yards in the first 4 possessions. Parcells far from satisfied. Bledsoe would pick it up, though. Michael Timpson out of Penn State grabs it in the infield. Pats win it 28-10. Bledsoe, after the slow start, improved to 9 of 16, 139 yards. Only about 25,000 watching the game at the Big A. Chuck Knox, for his part, said he was very concerned about his team's performance. And on the third day, they rested. Nothing on the strike talk agenda today as the walkout reaches day 3. There remains little reason for optimism, what with fear and ravage featuring nothing but polarized rhetoric.
As I said yesterday, it appears things have settled in for a while. That's what the clubs wanted. There is that time, and I can't predict what's going to happen, but maybe with some luck they'll be able to suggest something that eventually makes a difference.
And we'll take a special look at the poetic injustice the strike has inflicted on our national pastime a little bit later on in Sports Weekly. Also ahead, more NFL stuff. Marshall Faulk got in the way of a very large man, and he got hurt. Also, a PGA Championships report in the day of the final round. Nick Price's lead has shrunk, but he hardly seems ready to collapse.
Sports Weekly is presented by Delta Airlines. You'll love the way we fly.
At the PGA, Nick Price's third round could have been a disaster if not for a few artful scrambles and a little luck. And even when his top pursuers were doing stuff like chipping in from the fringe for par, the world's hottest player kept a grip on the lead and is closing in on his second straight major, something no one has done in the past 12 years. Corey Pavin, one of his pursuers, the approach shot on the 7th, hits the flag, goes to 6 under. Price, as I said, having to scramble. The second shot on 12, oh, I've seen that before. Boink into the top of the tree, his first bogey in 38 holes. Jay Haas. No. Problems on 15. This one triple bogey really haunted him. He's in the hunt, but could have had a better chance if not for that hole. Tom Watson just sitting back and enjoying things. Enjoying this shot on 16 by Corey Pavin. He knows right away it's going in the hole. He goes to 4 under right there. On the 17th, Price still scrambling, still leading, and still hitting great approach shots.
He likes it.
Greens have softened up in Tulsa. Shots like that highlighted the rounds the last couple of days. Price even par in the day, 8 under for the tournament. Still on 17. Pavin to save par off the flagstick. He has to chuckle about that. Price paired with Haas later this afternoon. The first time Haas has ever played in a final group of a major. Jay, again, should be even closer if not for that triple bogey. Price says that, as for his part, he'll have to be more aggressive today. A little later in the show, Jimmy Roberts will join us to preview the final round, and we'll hear from Greg Norman, still kind of lurking on the fringe of contention. More preseason pigskin from last night, a showcase for rookies, including the first 2 taken in April's draft, as 2 of the league's bottom feeders from last year hooked up, the Colts and the Bengals in preseason action. Marshall and Big Daddy. Faulk trying to block James Francis, catches a knee in a bad spot. injured, bruised back, 3 carries, 9 yards. In the third quarter, Big Daddy, big rush, big hit on Browning Nagel, who coughs it up. Wilkinson, however, just 1 tackle on the night. In the fourth quarter, minute left, Colts down by 1, and Lamont Warren, the rookie out of Colorado, outshining Marshall Faulk on this night. That touchdown, also a long touchdown run. Colts win it by 5. Lions and Browns, 9-7 in the fourth quarter. The punt to the rookie out of Michigan, Derek Alexander, showing why he will be missed in Ann Arbor this year. Gets some great blocking here. Shows the speed even on the sloppy track. Gets to the sideline, and they're not going to catch him. 75 yards. Browns win it 16-7. Raiders and Steelers. Barry Foster, first game since the ankle injury week 11 last year, and O'Donnell flips the screen to him. Nice little game. Foster 12 yards on 3 carries. 2 plays later, Foster would hand off to Dwight Stone, untouched, into the end zone on the reverse. Little preseason whooping. Rod Woodson, Charles Jordan pushing and shoving. Woodson gets ejected. Steelers win by 12. Giants and the Chargers, Olympic Stadium in Berlin. 7-zip San Diego, second quarter. Dave Brown, newly named as the starter, shows the mobility, gets into the end zone, ties it at 7. It was 14-all in the third quarter, and the free agent from Princeton, Keith Elias, shows why he's going to make the team as the Giants win it. Now, accompanying the Giants to Berlin, a man revisiting the scene of a huge heartbreak. Broadcasting legend Marty Glickman was a member of the U.S. Olympic team in 1936. He was all set to run in the 4x100 relay with Jesse Owens when a political decision robbed him of his medal dreams. Glickman recounted the story yesterday.
A fellow named Sam Stoller and I, the only 2 Jews on the team, were taken off the relay team the morning of the day we were supposed to run, so we didn't get to run. And I've been angry and frustrated, particularly at the American Nazis, ever since.
Now, this is your second time back to this great stadium. What are your emotions now?
Sadness, wonderment. Just a few minutes ago, I sat in Adolf Hitler's box. I was there. He was not.
Glickman broadcast the Giants and also the Jets games for a time. Coming up later in the show, more on the latest episode in Riddick Bowe's strange stint as a former champion, and a look at where the heavyweights are headed. Also, the epic bouts of Jimmy Connors on the Flushing Meadows hard courts are apparently history. That plus other miscellaneous items just ahead in our Week in Review. This is an entertainment alternative to turn to in the absence of televised baseball. Televised poetry readings. Vancouver's Hoopsters unveiled a snarling new logo. Big George's title shot was deemed a no-go. American women delivered a goodwill-crushing. Jimbo declined an invite to Flushing. Mike Keenan's replacement is hardly a shock, and horse racing Shrine welcomed a jock. Craig Kilborn had nothing else to do, so we asked him to read the Week in Review.
While our national pastime came to a screeching halt this week, the rest of the sporting world played on. The New York Rangers took a step toward defending the Stanley Cup by promoting former associate coach Colin Campbell Tuesday. Campbell, who will try to pick up where Mike Keenan left off, understands he has big shoes to fill.
It's tough for any coach or any rookie coach to walk into any situation because the reason, normally the reason that they want a new coach is something was wrong before. It'll be difficult, but all I've got to do is maintain. I don't have to improve.
The Pittsburgh Penguins are looking to improve. The 1991 and 92 Stanley Cup champs, uncertain about the future of Mario Lemieux, signed all-star right-wing Jaromir Jagr to a 5-year contract Tuesday. The 22-year-old Jagr led the Pens with a career-high 99 points last season.
Where's Vancouver?
Well, Tim Hardaway, that's where the Grizzlies will play their NBA home games. The 95-96 expansion team unveiled their mascot and logo this week, and it's a bear.
Get ready to watch the fur fly.
The Dallas Mavericks are waiting to see if an offer they made to Roy Tarpley will fly. Tarpley was banned from the NBA in October of 1991 after refusing to take a drug test. And it was 1990 the last time the U.S. women's basketball team won a gold medal in a major international event until this year's Goodwill Games. The women struck gold in the championship game behind Lisa Leslie's 18 points and Cheryl Swoop's 14. Steve Cawthon made history in the 1978 Belmont Stakes and was inducted into the Horse Racing Hall of Fame this week in Saratoga. Cawthon rode to a Triple Crown that year, affirming his place in history.
will test these two to the wire. Affirmed under a left-hand whip. Alidar on the outside driving. Affirmed and Alidar heads apart. Affirmed's got a nose in front as they come onto the wire.
O.J. Simpson continued to make headlines this week. He left jail to have a swollen lymph node removed early Thursday morning. The minor surgery was termed a success. George Foreman and Michael Moore won't be squaring off anytime soon. The WBA announced it won't sanction the bout originally scheduled for November 5th. Paul Azinger returned to golf well ahead of schedule. This week, the Zinger received a warm reception when he showed up in Tulsa, Oklahoma to defend his PGA Championship title. But he insists he wanted more than just the victory of being back in the swing.
I was totally prepared to be, in my mode out there today, and I was. So emotionally, I didn't get all wrapped up in that, and I just really had hoped that my game would be a little better.
Flushing Meadows' favorite son won't make a return this year. Jimmy Connors announced he will not play in this year's U.S. Open.
Our NFL camping caravan stops in Buffalo, where despite a lost Super Bowl or 4, the Bills remain mostly intact and steadfastly confident about yet another title run. And in case you thought we were done with poetry, oh no, how wrong you are. An epic poem for the promising baseball season cut short.
These days, you see someone on a cellular phone just about everywhere. Good thing we decided to set up our network there. Cellular One. Clear across America.
You have car insurance, right? Well, your engine is the most expensive part of your car. So, have you insured your engine? Right. Engine insurance, also known as T+ engine treatment with DuPont Teflon. Add T+ and tough DuPont Teflon goes to work, relentlessly fighting heat, friction, and wear, protecting your engine for up to 50,000 miles. T+ engine treatment. The T is for Teflon. Tough, tenacious, tested.
Peerless Faucet didn't come up with the idea for a spout long and high enough to reach over and into large objects. We merely adapted it for the kitchen. High-rise faucet designs by Peerless. Get more out of your faucet than just water.
You have seen the masters of the game. And what have you learned? Payne Stewart's Secret of the Green, John Daly's Path Out of the Trap, Tom Watson's Answer to the Blue, Phil Mickelson's Way Through the Chasm and the Labyrinth of Your Mind. Remember, we all want the lesson. That's why we watch the Sprint International. Let ESPN show us the way. The Sprint International, Thursday and Friday on ESPN.
Maybe they'll argue it years from now whether Matt Williams or Ken Griffey Jr. or Frank Thomas would have caught Roger Maris, or whether Tony Gwynn might have reached 400. We'll never know. There is no perfect time for a strike, of course, but this one seems especially ill-timed. Charlie Steiner narrates pros put to pictures on 94's spoiled summer fairy tale.
The outlook wasn't brilliant for the local 9 these days. The luster seemed to leave the game. No Mantle, Ruth, nor Mays. And then free agency came along and strike talk did the same. A sickly silence fell upon the patrons of the game. But a rising cast of sluggers arose among the rest. Names like Griffey, Hurt, and Williams filled the game with zest. Deep from the heart of Texas, like a comet, his name did rise. And on the Golden Coast, he was a star, to no one's surprise. The game was at a pinnacle, the interest at a peak, and illusions of record moments. We all began to speak. Shadows of misty yesterdays were recalled in black and white, while in spectacular multitudes, the spheroids flew into night. Could Junior be the chosen one to break the record mark? His stride and swing both classic, we'd admire and remark. And while his quest marched on and questions all were raised, the talk of strike lingered like a morning ballpark's haze. Could history be subjected, destiny betrayed? We knew the mark would fall if just the games were played. As summer led the charge, as it does for this great game, others stalked the record and hastened for its fame. It seemed like every morning in the box scores that we'd sweep, you'd read the big Hurt was on a tear. Again, he had gone deep. No sooner had it seemed it would become just a two-man race. From Candlestick along the bay, there came another face. quiet in his manner, but lethal with his bat. A third assault upon the record came from the giant, Matt. But lurking in the shadows, they warned us, and we knew, don't raise your hopes on fantasy, the games would soon be through. It wasn't just a game, they told us, and they weren't wrong. You see, those in control, they couldn't get along. There were things we didn't understand, although we listened and we read. Too much is not enough. We'll strike, the players said. Reality began to set, and the questions all were raised. Would our heroes simply turn their backs on the chase for fame and praise? Until the final stanza, the pursuit of Maris neared. The reality of the strike, its ugly head had reared. Baseball was not of consequence, the sanctity of the game. All essence of its qualities were lost on poignant blame. Oh, somewhere in this favored land, the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light. And somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in baseball, for both sides have struck out.
Now, Michael Jordan had sounded kind of ambivalent about taking the field in Double-A during a major league strike. Now he won't have to worry about crossing a philosophical picket line for a while. The Birmingham Barons report their rookie will miss at least 5 games after injuring his shoulder Friday while diving for a ball. Doctors think it's a strained left rotator cuff. Jordan will have an MRI tomorrow. Mike won't play, but for your strike zone amusement, check out the Chicks and the Barons. The Sunday night baseball show must go on 8 o'clock Eastern tonight. And coming up later in this show, Tai Chi devotee Greg Norman on martial arts, on missed opportunities, on regrets. Plus, we'll get a live report from Tulsa previewing today's final round of the PGA Championships. And Wilbur returns for a third go-round at Buddy Ball with a third different team. That plus the rest of the NFL camp news.
After 25 years, quality is still our recipe.
You know the best thing about that Voodoo debut? It's probably the first time fans in RFK Stadium have felt good since they heard the words, "Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Gibbs has left the building." It ain't easy when football teams change coaches, especially for the players. Take the Cardinals, for example. Okay, so maybe they stunk before Buddy came, but at least the players felt they were in Arizona, not Singapore. And how can things in Dallas be any smoother? Not only did the Super Bowl champs lose their winning coach, but in NFL terms, this new guy is just cutting his teeth. It's enough to make grown men cry and pine for the good old days when Jimmy was in charge. But alas, Coach Johnson has moved on. He's busy over at Fox, and he's already made it clear he'll stay only on one condition. Everybody does things his way.
He's busy fishing down in Key Largo. In other camp news, the shortest honeymoon in Washington history. Bill Clinton thought he had it tough. He should talk to Heath Schuler, booed at RFK already. Jack Edwards narrates the roundup, and listen carefully to see if you can notice that Jack has movies on the brain.
The Tennessean, Heath Schuler, made his pro debut Monday night. The Redskins rookie quarterback faced the Buffalo Bills. He completed 4 passes for 47 yards. He had 1 picked. Washington came up short, losing 13-11. With just 3 regular season games under his belt, quarterback Dave Brown is now the man with the golden gun. He will replace Phil Simms as the starting quarterback for the Giants. Brown, who was New York's supplemental first-round pick in the 1992 draft, won the job over Kent Graham. The Patriots were in a clear and present danger of not having a backfield, with both Marion Butts and Blair Thomas sidelined. New England acquired Leroy Thompson from the Steelers. The Patriots also released Leonard Russell, who led the club last season with 1,088 yards. Russell failed to come to a new contract agreement with the Pats. On Friday, he agreed to terms with the Denver Broncos. The Green Bay air attack is once again as sharp as a razor's edge. Sterling Sharp was back at practice after offseason toe surgery. Sharp will make a gradual return, working towards an August 26th preseason debut against New England. The postman always rings twice at Lynn Elliott's store, especially since the ex-Cowboys place kicker has once again changed addresses, this time calling Kansas City home. The Chiefs released David Treadwell, meaning Elliott will replace the departed Nick Lowry. After threatening to defect to the Great White North, Jameer Miller has come to terms with the Arizona Cardinals. Miller, the number 10 overall pick, a star at UCLA, had threatened to play in the CFL.
I knew it'd get done, you know, that's so I just kept working out and kept myself in condition and stayed ready to play.
Joining Miller in hopes of raising Arizona's chances of a Super Bowl title is Wilber Marshall. Buddy Ryan was Marshall's defensive coordinator for 5 years in Chicago and last year in Houston. One guy who's not afraid to take other people's money is running back Eric Rhett. Tampa Bay's second-round pick signed a 4-year deal worth $2 million. Rhett had sat out the Bucs training camp due to the contract dispute. Frankly, folks, he didn't give a damn. Friday night, John Elway and Steve Young headlined a marquee matchup. The Niners receiving corps co-starred as Young went 4 for 4 for 45 yards on the opening touchdown drive. San Francisco broke the Bronx 20-3. In the nation's capital, in a sequel to his Monday night debut, rookie quarterback Heath Schuler hits wideout Tyus Winans. That would give Chip Lohmiller the chance to tie the game with less than 3 minutes to go. Wide right, Chiefs win it 17-14. And the Bills shuffled out of Buffalo and headed to Dixie, where Jeff George proceeded to dismantle the Bills' secondary. He threw for 170 yards, including this TD to Andre Rison. Falcons win 27-7.
And coming up on Sports Weekly after this break, a live PGA update on the day of the final round and a conversation with the Shark. Is he mellowing?
I think what now is my mental aspect of my game has gone a little less aggressively than what I used to be.
At the PGA Championships, Nick Price has a 3-stroke lead entering today's final round as he tries for a second consecutive major and tries to shut out the Americans in this year's majors. Weather report, 30% chance of rain this afternoon in Tulsa. Jimmy Roberts has been living on Tulsa time all week. He joins us now. Should the rain be a factor anyway, Jimmy?
Well, the rain may be a factor, Chris, but the big factor is the wind. You can't see it here. It's getting a little breezy. The forecast today, the wind conditions have shifted 180 degrees. It's now blowing out of the northeast. About 10 to 20 miles an hour is the prediction during the day. Now, Dave Bryan, the head pro here, told me this morning that that means a 1 to 2 club difference. You might say to yourself, well, big deal. These guys are the best golfers in the world. Shouldn't be a problem for them. Well, it probably won't, but think about this. Would you want to enter the last round of a major championship with a course playing entirely different than it has in the last the last 3 days of competition and the previous 3 days of practice? So that could be something to watch today. But the big story, of course, is Nick Price. Can anybody catch Nicky? Well, he is the best golfer in the world right now, and the fact is that this year on the PGA Tour, there has been only one instance when a player has had a lead of at least 3 strokes after 54 holes and not come home with the championship. So you'd have to pretty much like his chances. But there are those who don't feel that way. Then again, maybe they don't have a choice.
He's got a lot of pressure on him. I mean, he's leading the golf tournament. He doesn't want to make any major mistakes. So, you know, if some guy can go out there and make a 65 quickly, you know, it's a different ball game. But nobody's done it so far. So,
I mean, Nick's too good a player to shoot a high score. So that means someone's going to have to shoot something in the mid-60s, which, again, is going to be tough to do. There's a lot of guys, though, in that one pack between, you know, even par and 4 under that have a pretty good chance of doing that.
I'm glad I'm playing with him. I'm glad I'm in the last group at a major tournament. Nick will be tough to catch. He can be caught, but I think we'd all like to have a 3-shot lead.
Now, Price says that if there is one player on the leaderboard that he is looking over his shoulder at, there is. His name is Greg Norman, his good friend. Now, the Shark is not at the top of the leaderboard, but he's always tough to ignore. We had a chance to sit down with him this week and talk about a number of subjects.
In reality, golf should really be a simple game. You're hitting a stationary ball with a fairly big club face somewhere down there, any direction.
Look out. Oh, my goodness.
Is it possible
for today's professional golfers, yourself included, to have any concept of how difficult this game is for the majority of people who play it?
Oh, well, I can tell you my first score that I ever recorded was 108. You know, so I know what it's like to come down and shoot 108 and say, God, I want to break 100 so bad I could taste it, you know.
How long did it take you?
Oh, it took me about a month or two, you know. But it was that unbelievable desire in myself to break 100, to break 90, to break 80, and then, oh, I had to work so hard to break 70. And now I want to break 60. So you think about the transcending all those different levels that you have to go through. And I think, yes, I understand the people out there who shoot the 85 or the 90 or the 100 and want to shoot that one shot better the next day, always improve. I'm a self-taught individual. I learned how to play the game of golf out of a book from Jack Nicklaus. And I'm learning how to control my mental side out of a book from martial arts.
Tai Chi, Taekwondo, what do you do?
I don't do martial arts.
No?
No.
You study martial arts?
I don't even study martial arts. I tell you what happened. My children went about 2 years ago to a martial arts school here locally. They loved it, and I went along to watch them. And it started to tweak my mental capacity about how these guys control the discipline that they do. I was absolutely mesmerized by that. And just by reading this little book, and the Zen and the martial arts, and the sayings that you can tell yourself, and how to relax, and how to breathe, and just...
And it's helped you?
No question about it. Absolutely no question about it. I've absolutely enjoyed it. I actually carry the book with me in my briefcase everywhere I go, and I'll flip through it and I'll read a saying or read a chapter just to pick it up.
This year, I would imagine, is a year of mixed emotions for you. On the one hand, your consistency has been remarkable. On the other hand, I would imagine you have to be disappointed that some of the opportunities that were there for you, I think of Hartford, I think a year back to the Tour Championship, they've gone a-wanting. Why haven't you won more?
I think what now is my mental aspect of my game has gone a little less aggressively than what I used to be. And maybe that aggression at the right time hasn't been there that I need. Now maybe it's time just to crank up the aggression a little bit like I was 4 or 5 years ago when I was ready, willing, and able to take that little extra gamble. Maybe that's it, Jimmy. I really don't know.
But are you disappointed? Somewhat.
Yeah, of course I'm disappointed. I know I've played well enough to go out there and win 2 or 3 more tournaments in the last 12-month period of time. And that's the most important thing to me, is winning.
If I'm here to give you the choice, you can go back in time and you can change your life. Would you sacrifice all of the wonderful things that you have if you could be a little bit more anonymous and life wouldn't be so complicated?
Probably. There's the price of privacy is you can't put a price on it. And I would think that, yes, I would give up a little bit of that. But then again, you've got to understand what your main direction in life was when I was a kid, was all I wanted to do was play golf and be the best golfer I could be. And all the other stuff came with it. Now, do I go back and change my golf so I don't have all that other stuff? Probably not. I think if I had to change one thing in my life, of my whole career, I said I wouldn't be as honest. I wouldn't be upfront and as open. Honest is probably not the right word. I'd always be honest. I'd always answer the questions honestly, but wouldn't be as open. I wouldn't elaborate. I wouldn't expand. You know, I give the answer, and that's it. But I've always believed, my father always instilled in me when I was a kid, if somebody asks you a question, give them the honest answer, you know. And what you see in life now, the truth hurts a lot of people. They don't like the truth. Whether the truth is good for them or bad for them, people just can't sometimes handle it.
Now, Norman doesn't think he's out of it. Yesterday, after he came in, he said that even though he's 5 strokes back, he still thinks he's got a shot.
He's 3 strokes back, but who's never been in a final group in a major, Jay Haas. Handicap today's final round based on what's happened in final rounds so far this year.
Well, here's something that you can look at. Nick Price has the 6th best final round scoring average on the PGA Tour. Greg Norman has the 5th best. You know who's number 3? Phil Mickelson. And number 2, Jay Haas. So if If Nick Price doesn't shoot a low score today, anything could happen.
And it could be Phil Mickelson's coming out party in a major. Okay, make sure your caddy has an umbrella, Jimmy, and we'll look for your reports on SportsCenter tonight. And next in this show, mini roundtable on boxing's heavyweight division following that strange decision last night. Another strange chapter in boxing, the short-circuited Riddick-Bowe bout. Al Bernstein, Larry Merchant will join us when we continue. Welcome back. If you missed it last night, Riddick-Bowe and Buster Mathis Jr. in Atlantic City. Bowe in control of the fourth. Wow, Mathis to one knee, and Bowe crushes him with the big right hand. Arthur Mercanti, the referee, getting in just a touch late to stop it. Bowe said he thought Mathis was crouching. The fight, after a discussion, ruled a no contest, not a disqualification. After the fight, Bernstein asked Bowe if he thought he might be disqualified.
Oh, quite certainly. You know, when a guy go down like that and then they say he was down on one knee, which I never really could tell, yeah, I was very much concerned.
It was a deliberate foul. It's not the first time that that's happened in a Riddick-Bowe fight.
The referee made a decision. We as a board made a decision. I made a decision that I feel was a fair and intelligent decision. And I'm willing now to stand by the decision that I've made. I've made them before. So, you know, I don't run from anything. I don't hide.
One man who hasn't run from Atlantic City. He was there last night at ringside. He's still there. Al Bernstein joining us now. Al, what about this decision? Should Bowe have been disqualified? Al Bernstein on the boardwalk. Can you hear me? Al taking a standing 8 count. Larry Merchant was also at the fight. He is in our studios in New York. Larry, let me ask you, what do you think about this decision? Should Bowe have been disqualified?
They could have disqualified Bowe on a technicality, but I think they came to the common sense Solomonic decision of not giving Mathis a victory simply because he got knocked out under those circumstances, but taking the victory away from Bowe as a penalty to him. It was a fair decision.
Okay, Larry, we've cleared up the problem with Al Bernstein's audio in Atlantic City. Al, do you second that opinion now?
Well, yes and no. I have been on a crusade to get boxers disqualified when they hit guys low and it's blatant. And I think this is about as blatant as it gets. My attitude would be, I think the no contest makes some sense from a diplomatic sense, but it's not really mandated that well in the rules, and as far as I'm concerned, they could have disqualified him and made him fight again.
We got barely 4 rounds of boxing to get a chance to look at Bowe, but rate his performance after the long layoff, his first bout since losing the title last November to Holyfield. How did he look?
Well, you know, I thought that Riddick-Bowe's performance was good, especially after the first round. He was fighting a guy in Buster Mathis that was difficult to fight. And I think one thing that Riddick-Bowe did was really work on the inside with the short uppercuts, short hooks, short left hand. And that's the stuff he did very effectively against Evander Holyfield. That's really his game plan because a lot of guys want to get inside on him. So by and large, a good performance by Bowe.
Larry, how do you rate his performance? How did he look?
I thought he was a little heavy, a little rusty, but that he did fairly well. I'd give him a 7 or 8 on a scale of 10. It's very hard to look your best against a fighter who is clever, who is brave, and is just trying to survive, which is what Mathis was trying to do.
Larry, what's next now for Riddick-Bowe? He had wanted the title shot with Lennox Lewis. Is that put on hold? Does Mathis now get another fight?
Well, there is a contract to fight Lennox Lewis either in December or next spring. It's conceivable that there would be a rematch with Mathis between now and then.
Al, of course, everybody's waiting for Mike Tyson to get out of prison to kind of add some glamour back to the heavyweight division. Rank, if you can, the top 3 heavyweights right now.
Well, you know, people talk about Michael Moore and Riddick-Bowe and Lennox Lewis as the top 3, and I guess you have to. Riddick-Bowe has more skills than all of them. There's no question about that, and more power. He'd have to be number 1. Moore is number 2 just because he's a lefty, and because I'm sure Lennox Lewis wouldn't have a clue as to how to fight a lefty, and you have to put Lennox Lewis, I think, 3rd.
All right, Larry, you're in charge of Ring Magazine. Now give us your top 3 heavyweights.
I think I'd rate Lewis as number 1 because of his athleticism and his determination and his power. I'd rank Bo as number 2 and Moore as number 3.
Where would Tyson rank if he came out right now?
Well, I'll tell you, from my perspective, I think Tyson would rank ahead of Lewis right now because I think he's degenerated in his skills, and probably ahead of Moore. So I would say the only place you might put him is below Bo if Bo is a very active fighter because he has certain skills that would give Tyson trouble.
All right, Al, Larry, thank you very much. Sorry to cut you off. We've got to go. In a few minutes, Kelly Levy and the Buffalo Bills explain why they'll try again for that elusive ring with the mostly unchanged cast. And next, an era ends in Minnesota as one of the true individuals in sports steps aside. A tribute to Herbie.
The game becomes a business, and that's might be true. That's a terrible thing to say.
And so Andre Dawson's distinguished career came to an end this week. The Hawk had struggled with the Red Sox this year, batting under 200, but he's going to be best remembered for the brilliant career, the MVP in 1987. Of course, he played with 3 teams, Cubs, Expos, and Red Sox, a .280 career hitter, 428 career home runs. That is number 22 all time. If the strike is not settled, we've also seen the last of Herbie's lovable mug, in a baseball suit anyway. Ken Hrbek's farewell tour has been cut short for now, but as Mark Malone reports, not before a very emotional send-off for this civic hero and true character.
After 13 seasons with the Minnesota Twins, Ken Hrbek arrived at the Metrodome with little fanfare. Even if a strike ends his final season early, for Hrbek, it's been a scream.
Thanks a lot, sir. I really appreciate this. Thanks a lot. Thanks for all the years here, too.
All right, thank you. Hrbek doesn't hold any grudges against the Twins or the strike that could have robbed him of his proper farewell.
I look at these people as friends, not enemies. I can't be angered. Like I said, I told it when we had a press conference about a week ago that I'm looking back on all 16 years. I had 3 years in the minor leagues and 13 years with the Twins. I'm looking back at the whole thing. I'm not just looking back at 1994.
If 1994 is over, then Hrbek went out in style. With the strike looming, fans had every right to show their displeasure with the players, but instead, they took every opportunity to show their appreciation for a hometown hero. Hrbek's farewell couldn't have been scripted any better. In 6 trips to the plate, he batted 4 times with the bases loaded. In the 5th inning, Hrbek narrowly missed a grand slam.
To right. Going back is Chamberlain, looking up at the foul ball.
But in the 7th, he singled in 2 runs, sparking a standing ovation that lasted several minutes.
I think I could have a chance for about 25 RBIs if I hit the ball. It was kind of fun getting up there in situations like that. And, finally came through after the 4th time. It was a great reception, and I don't know, it was touching. It was fun.
Herbie coming out about 20 times with the bases loaded, man. I mean, what else can you ask for, man? He came through, and the fans, man, they were great.
It's been a great ride for everyone involved, but unfortunately, the business that baseball has become waits for no one.
Somebody made the comment to me, when Hrbek retires, the game becomes a business. And might be true. That's a terrible thing to say, and that might be true.
For now, the strike has emptied the Twins clubhouse and sent Hrbek into early retirement. But he takes with him 13 seasons of memories, including 2 world championships and the undying gratitude of his hometown fans.
I'll miss it, yeah. I'm going to miss it, but like I said, I'm still going to be a Twins fan.
In Minneapolis, Mark Malone, ESPN.
Okay, Mark, after this break, we'll visit Bills camp. The secondary is new. The house is no longer in the house, but the nucleus is intact. For, can we say it, another Super Bowl run?
Sports Weekly is presented by Delta Airlines. You'll love the way we fly.
Buffalo Bills are looking to regroup after a crushing Super Bowl loss. They believe they're the team to beat in the AFC. And stop me if this sounds familiar. We could have just re-racked the Bills training camp report from last year and the last few seasons, but we wouldn't do that. Tom Jackson files a fresh look at the perseverant 4-time AFC champs.
many times have you heard, it's not whether you win or lose, but how you play the game? Well, over the course of the last 4 years, no one has played the game better in the AFC than the Buffalo Bills. However, they trade each of those 49 regular season wins, 58 if you count the playoffs, for one win on Sunday, Super Sunday.
The tragic part about it, just one Super Bowl championship might have put these people down in history as one of the greatest teams ever.
We're never going to give up, no matter what. You know, we can go 0-10 in Super Bowls. We're going to keep trying. And I think this year it won't be any different.
It's not easy to get to the Super Bowl, whether you've been there the year before or whether you haven't been there the year before. Everybody goes in with the odds against them.
Following the loss of Super Bowl 28, Coach Marv Levy's sentiments were, we're not going to dismantle the Buffalo Bills. He must have realized even then the best move was not moving his Pro Bowl players.
How do you retool by saying goodbye to Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, Jim Kelly, Kent Hall? That's just foolishness.
Mr. Wilson, Coach Levy, myself sat down and said, this is what we want to keep. These are special, special people. If we keep these people and add to the draft and some other acquisitions we may make, but keep this great core together, we've got a chance to go right back at it.
I'm not done yet. We still have the majority of the players here. Yeah, we have lost a few good ball players, but it seems like somebody always steps in and steps up to the challenge.
Enter 350-plus pound Jerry Krafts, an early leader in replacing Pro Bowl offensive tackle Howard House Ballard.
If your tackles are not intact, the quarterback's going to take a beating, and I'm not 24 years old anymore. I need the protection just like a lot of quarterbacks around the league.
When Kelly has protection, he often finds the end zone. Over the past 4 seasons, his 98 touchdown passes lead the NFL. And in 94, enhancing the vertical game is a priority.
I think one thing that you'll see more of is Andre Reed out wide and Billy Brooks inside a little bit more. But a guy that's opened all of our eyes in camp is Bucky Brooks. The guy can fly, and who knows how long it'll be before he steps in and plays a big role in our offense.
Last year, the defense's big role was big play. 47 takeaways led the NFL. This year, they'll have to do it without safety Mark Kelso and Pro Bowl cornerback Nate Odoms.
It's definitely going to make the right side of the defense a little bit tougher on myself and Darryl Talley and some of the other guys.
Except for strong safety Henry Jones, 75% of the last line of defense is young and inexperienced.
You always want to improve. We were 27th in the league in yardage given up. Now, that's not anything to brag about. I think if you're going to be able to play tough football over the full 60-minute period of time, you need your linemen, defensive, even the great ones, fresh. They need to be relieved more.
I'd be shocked if they actually tried to do that, to be honest with you. My place is not on the sidelines. It's on the field at every moment possible.
And it's on the field that Buffalo returns in search of an unprecedented 5th straight Super Bowl appearance.
How many times can this team go to the well? Until we quench our thirst.
From the Bills training camp in Fredonia, New York, Tom Jackson, ESPN.
Coming up in a half hour on SportsCenter, a live report from the World Championships. Peter Gammon stops by, and also Ken Caminetti. But the sports reporters are next.
If there has to be a winner in baseball's latest labor dispute, it may very well be the Legends. Their records are assured, it seems, now that the season has been stolen from the stars of Generation X. If Deion Sanders can't play ball anymore, will his Cincinnati Reds let the star free agent jump to the NFL early? For the 49ers, the future is now. They're hoping Ken Norton Jr. can take them back to another Super Bowl. Does Dream Team 2 have anything on the original Dream Team, or is it all trash talk? Are they the newest breed of ugly Americans?
The Sports Reporters with Dick Chapman.
Morning and welcome to the latest edition of the Sports Reporters. It's such a beautiful day for a ball game. Let's sit out too. I'm Frank DeFord, filling in for Dick Schaap, who's on a work stoppage called vacation. And we'll be discussing those subjects and more with Larry Merchant of HBO Sports, who was in Atlantic City last night where Riddick Bowe, emulating baseball, came to a no decision against Buster Mathis Jr. And Tony Kornheiser of the Washington Post, a city where both parties remained far apart all week. And finally, Mitch Albom of the Detroit Free Press, the Motor City that knows a thing or two about real labor strikes. Gentlemen, we are entering day 3 of the 8th place stoppage in baseball since 1972. So all right, now let's go around the horn real fast. Larry, starting with you, give me your best guess, over and under, before and after. When does the strike end?
Memorial Day 95.
Tony?
It'll end when Fear and Ravitch run out of television shows to be on at that rate, probably Thursday.
Mitch?
I say September 15th or never, one or the other.
Maybe this is an even better question. How long can baseball keep its head in the lion's mouth? When does the public stop caring? When does the season really lose its legitimacy?
2 days ago, in terms of stop caring, I really don't get the sense the public cares much more than they would care if a movie set broke down because the star walked off, because that's what this has become, just the entertainment that's ended. In terms of legitimacy for records and things, which is what everybody's talking about, Tony Gwynn and all that, as soon as you take one game out of the schedule, if you don't go 162, the asterisk goes up in the record books.
I think people do care. But as for when they stop caring, that's the second question in a minute and a half you've asked I don't know the answer to.
The problem now with baseball and with all sports is these overlapping seasons. You know, you're 2 weeks away from the start of the football season. If baseball doesn't come back, you know, the moving hand having writ moves on. It just doesn't matter to some degree. I think that they want to come back in time to have a postseason, because that's where everybody makes a lot of money.
Well, has anybody got an idea of how this thing can be ended?
Well, I have loads of ideas, because it's my job 3 times a week. Well, one of the ways it could certainly end is if the baseball owners just decided to start moving. I mean, if they ran the risk that they would lose their antitrust exemption because the states they vacated...
What do you mean moving, Tom?
Moving franchises, because that way there's a lot of cities out there where they can make a lot of money with new ballparks and new cities.
You mean they should start doing that in the next 2 weeks?
Not in the next 2 weeks, but if they declare that will happen, there's markets, there's money, and they can get off the salary cap.
I see it right before this strike hit. You could tell some of the owners, the large market owners, were saying, we don't want this, we don't want this. I think behind closed doors, they are really starting to attack each other, and that's what I see breaking this thing down, when the owners finally say enough already, and the big ones push around the little ones, or vice versa.
Historically, it's always been the owners in baseball who have cracked, just like historically, it's always been the players in football.
But historically, the owners could crack because they were always expecting higher and higher television revenues. And now they have the reality of lower national television revenues. I don't think they're going to crack as they have in the past.
The small market people, this is their last stand. This is Armageddon for them. I mean, it really is unfair that Minnesota would get $4.5 million in television revenue and be asked to compete against the Yankees, who get $47 million. At this point, they can actually make money, since their payroll exceeds their gate receipts. They can make money by having a strike. What's their incentive to stop?
As a player, say, this has very little to do with us. You know, and they're saying, well, you're paying us our salaries, but that's all they want to know. And you're talking just about one side of it here. You've got the players who are walking out and saying, we don't want to know this. Take care of your own problems. Revenue share. Do whatever you want. But don't tell us we have to have a salary cap, because you guys can't make up your minds.
You know, Mitch, I think a lot more of this moves into the public arena now, though. Whatever is right, whatever may be principled, I found it very interesting that Ravitch has started saying again and again, the players make $1.4 million. How much more do they want?
Yeah, I don't get that.
You don't get it?
Don't the owners make a heck of a lot more than $1.4 million? Did anyone go to them in their businesses?
That's not for Ravitch to say, Mitch.
Well, it's not for anyone to say.
The point is that most people, I think, live with that idea rather than how much the owners make. Larry?
My view of this is that there's a great misapprehension out there that Donald Fear is sending out. And Donald Fear, I fear, doesn't want to be the first head of the baseball union to lose a strike. And that misapprehension is that we have a free market in baseball. You don't have a free market when the minimum is $109,000. You have a free market when the minimum is $4.25 an hour. You don't have a free market when a player can triple and quadruple his salary after a good season, but it can only be cut 20% after a bad season. You don't have a free market when an 11-game winner can go sobbing home because he only got $1.8 million in arbitration instead of the $3 million he wanted. Now, the baseball players got that through honest negotiation. but they got it from the owners because the owners gave away the store in the belief that television revenues were going to climb ever higher.
But the arbitration, that's the thing that the players are going to have to get off. And then the owners are going to have to give them lowered free agency, and then you can get rid of the salary cap. Because it's arbitration and the stupidity of the owners that has raised this level to this perception where for the first time, people are angry at players. That's never happened in the strike before.
This is all about money. Do you think that if Ravitch said, we'll give you, we want a player cap, but you get 75% of all the revenues, you think they wouldn't accept the player cap?
They'd take a cap on that.
It's not about a cap. It's not about free agency. It's about dollars.
Mitch, how much does the public miss seeing Tony Gwynn shooting for 400, Matt Williams going for the 62?
Well, I think that was really the saving grace of this whole season, all those national names moving around, especially with the confusion of the new playoff format. And I think now that they've interrupted that, the purists are going to walk away immediately unless they somehow reschedule. You know, they play double headers every day when they come back to get triple headers to get to 162 games.
Let's play
and Tony Gwynn is a terrible victim of this thing because I think of all the guys, there's no way. I always said that home run mark is never going to be broken. There will be too much attention paid in the last 5 home runs. The guy will freeze up. But Gwynn was going like this. You know, every time you picked up the paper, it was another couple percentage points, and it's a terrible shame to see this happen.
We will move now.